So, I'm going to continue on with Volume 1 of the Adventures of Susan MeeLing, Scuba Diver Extraordinaire, chapters 1 through 4, by Reverend Susan MeeLing. Me, Susan MeeLing. Reverend Susan MeeLing, Scuba Diver Extraordinaire, Lady Dori, Belle. So back to page 100 from where left off last. In reference to where I would go swimming as a child, other than at Sony or Sonia and Joe or Jose's house, where they had a pool, and then the pool for the recreational camp for Marlborough Township. Oh, as a side note, I don't think I wrote about this, but as a side note, when at Marlborough Recreation, there was a movie that came out called The Little Mermaid or something like that by Disney or something, and where the females were swimming around and like, you know, kicking around. And I was like, oh, I can swim like a mermaid, no problem, I'll show you. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, this is how you do it. And they looked at me and they were like, no, that's impossible. I was like, no, you literally just saw me do it. Want to see something cool? And they were like, okay. At that time, I had long hair. At that time, it was like to here or here, longer than this. And so I was like, watch this. And they're like, okay. So I went under the water, did a few things. And then when I came up, I flipped my hair forward, which it became very long. And then I flipped backwards as, you know, I got out of the water. And my hair, it had like the little curl, like right here, kind of like, you know, George Washington. And then my hair, you know, came down in the rest in the back. And it was really, really long. It came down to like the center of my back. And they were just like, oh my God, how did you do that? And I was like, I showed you. Can't you do that? And they're like, no. It's like, I call this the George Washington, President George Washington. Then I went back under the water and I flipped back up and I'm like, so yeah. And then, you know, my hair was still long here, and they were just like, how'd you get your hair so long? I was like, it's a thing I do. Oh, I forgot about it. But I was in the water, so, you know, my hair tends to grow a lot faster when it's in water. It's really weird. But anyway, so there was a thick rope netting along the areas where the buoys were floating, which I could climb over to go swimming just for a bit further, trying to find the scuba divers that I saw walking along the pier, or the jetties. The orange tall ones were sometimes climbed up on top of, and though I thought it to be a lot of fun when the waves would move the bowl back and forth side to side, while I stood on top of the lip to dive into the water. Though there were a few times that I was able to angle myself, I climbed on top. So like, think of like those construction cones that are like circular and like sitting in a bowl. Like that's the closest description. And then they have a little like ball on top. So then I was like, okay, there were a few times, I only did it a few times because the bowl of the lip was easier to dive off of. There were a few times I was feeling really, really adventurous. And I go and okay, I gotta put this down. So I got on top, you know, I got my feet like on top of the ball because it was about that big. Yeah, about that big. And I don't know what was in there, but like if that was a surveillance thing, hi, that was me. And so yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was me. Those were my feet. Sorry, I don't like feet. But anyway, so yeah, I get on top of it, I balance my feet, because, you know, the waves were, you know, doing the wave thing, and out there, some waves. And so, you know, just, okay, can you calm down? And then, you know, the water's kind of paused for a little bit, so I just slow down. Okay, I get my balance, and get up there and get, okay. and went in the water. And ironically, I did something similar at Clear Springs Scuba Park when I got back to the state of Texas, but on a flat platform instead of a round.
But that was when the scuba divers were in the water, so.
Anyway, and then there were the ones which spun around, which were a lot of fun to play with. I would hold on to the ball sometimes and go spinning with it. I had so much fun doing that. I was a child. Give me a break. You know? So it really was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun. I mean, you know, I was able to catch my breath. I knew how to do that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I don't recommend doing it. But it was a lot of fun. Though sometimes it zapped my feet every now and then. I don't know what those things were. I thought they were beach balls. So. Yeah, it went in a hole of the netting, like there, you know, the netting area, like the military guys know, like from training exercises, like probably about twice, like 4 squares. 4 squares of those is about the size, and just spin, 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 do, 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 do. Every now and then I jump off the top, but because it kept spinning, like. If it didn't spin, like I could have dove a bunch more. But then there were the times that I would stand on top of the netting, but then it would like sink down a bunch, and I was like, it's not really like, all right, I'll deal with that. Anyway, so yeah, if there were any surveillance cameras, that was me. Hi. Hey. I mean, that was in the like mid to late 80s up until I pretty much stopped doing that the year that I became a camp counselor in training. And it was probably about the last time they saw the year before that. So that if like they were like, where'd she go? Like, hi. You found me. I'm a little older now.
So,
yeah, I think like there were a couple times there was like, so I had looked at some stuff. I'm just gonna like go over like skip over that because like yeah, I don't want to get in trouble, but I noticed some stuff. Anyway, so didn't mean to scare you though. I was like, what is that? Kind of like the eyeball thingamabob when you go to the optometrist.
although it would be funny if there was somebody actually watching, go, where are your parents?
Where did they go? What are you doing out that far? I was at camp. They were at work. A little late to answer that question now since, you know, a couple of years. But, you know, or whatever. Well, I guess technically a couple of decades, but whatever. Anyway, so, but as a technicality, since I have been disowned, like I didn't know that somebody could disown their child so many times the way my biological parents did. I mean, like, and I'm not talking about like, you know, when parents get in trouble and or parents are mad at their child who got in trouble and they're like, it's your daughter, no, it's your daughter, no, it's your daughter, no, it's your daughter. No, I'm talking about like, you're not my daughter. You're whatever. That's like what I constantly dealt with.
Well before my head injury, by the way.
And then ironically, to get into the Army for the United States of America, that's when they were like, no, we don't want to sign the paperwork. I want to be emancipated. I demand to be emancipated. I told you I was joining the military. I demand to be emancipated. So they finally signed the paperwork, and I was like, yeah, that's right.
Anyway.
It took a bit more effort to do a dive during the times that I was out in that area, and sometimes I just did a belly flop because, you know, the ocean kept moving because it's water. A few times I did a couple of different types of dives, yeah. Swan dive, although I called it a fairy dive, whatever. Then there were a couple of times I was able to get close enough to the rocky jetties where the scuba divers went into the ocean. And there had been one time I was, whoever that guy was, I apologize for scaring you. I had swam up to this scuba diver, and not only did I like look into his mask, like I held on to some squid. So I really apologize for doing this. I did not mean to scare you. So like I got up to them and I'm like, what is this? And so like, you know, the older scuba diver masks though, still, you know, like the ones now, but different. So like I get up and I'm like, what is that? And he just blah, 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 blah. And I was still holding on to his mask or her, I don't know. I held on and I'm like, what's going on? And then like he swam backward. Like, all right, well, let that go, whatever that was. Bye. I was just trying to say hi, that's all. Sorry. My bad. Didn't mean to scare you. So, I just realized I could have left a mark. I could have left a mark. Sorry. I mean, yeah, and yeah, he had a chem light on the side of his mask, I think is what it's called. It was like this bright thing. It was not an anglerfish. Very different type of light. Because yeah. Anyway, yeah, I saw a couple other scuba divers, and apparently I think it is called a submarine. I think that is what I wound up swimming up to, and I was like, hey, wait, because I saw a window. It was like, it was like this big of a window, like this big of a window, and I was like, because I saw it was on the side of it, and I was just like, well, maybe if I get to the front, because it kept making a noise, and so I swam towards the front, and there was like this kind of curved type of area, and I'm like, and then I heard inside, and I was like, okay, well, fine, I'll leave you guys be. My bad. Excuse me. Just going to say hi, but you know, okay, fine. Yeah. Heard a whole bunch of swearing. Probably wasn't expected. Anyway. As certain submarinists, marine biologists, scuba divers, and the like know, there are times when you see a particular animal which you think is one, but getting closer and it's something different. And I guess that happened to be the case. And I found a few ones that were tagged when I was swimming around in the ocean. I don't know what it was. And the fishies didn't like it. So I took it off them. So, you know, if, I was a child, give me a break. didn't know you were checking them out and see what they were doing. I could have told you what they were doing. But anyway, anyway. So, then I tried to get into MAST, and that was when I was in 8th grade, going into 9th grade, and I had done the application, and then I had to wait back to hear for the school whether or not they accepted my essays, and then and that was after I had gotten to meet Governor Whitman. When I found out about the Marine and Science Technology School, that was when I found, like, when I got back after I got in trouble. I got in trouble because there were some security guards who found me in an area I should not have been in, but it was really cool to see. Apparently during so after the essay, so after meeting Governor Whitman, and then, everybody had asked, oh, what is it like to be governor? 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 And it's like, ugh. She's like answered that like 5 times already. Oh, there's another one. And then it was my turn, and I was like, nice to meet you, Governor Whitman. So, like, my friend at the time, her mom is an employee at Marlboro Mental Health or Marlboro State Hospital, and like the news said that you're the one who's closing that down. So what is going to happen with all of the people who actually need mental health and assistance there, what's going to happen in reference to her mom and a job? And she looked at me, and then before anybody behind her said anything, by the way, she looked at me, then she leaned back, and then somebody behind her goes, like, literally that's all they did was, they didn't have any, it's like, okay, I guess I'm not going to get an answer. And then she leaned forward and she was like, I was just reminded of a meeting. Really? Okay. And then the rest of the people, because it was alphabetical, the rest of people behind me were mad at me, and they complained the whole bus ride back. So mad at me. I was like, well, all of you were asking the same question anyway. Why didn't you ask something else? And then, like, the social studies teacher who always wore a fish tie, he was always like, he had different fish. He liked to go fishing. And so he would wear, like, a salmon colored shirt and then have a salmon fish tie. And I was like, that is so funny. Do you know that's what they look like on the inside, whether or not you cook them? And he was just like, But after that, I had received the invitation to apply for MAST, and not everybody got that invitation. And whatchamacallit, I did the application, and then first it was the application, then it was the essays. Like, you had like a questionnaire you had to fill out after you did the application, which was different, and that was where the essays were. And then if they approved you, then I went in and I did like the in-person test, and then after that, then was like the interview portion, and that was where I was like, so fishies, and they were just like, you cannot say that, and I was like, I mean, okay, fine, the scientific terms, fine, about their fishies. Did you find this one yet? Which I described the anglerfish, and they were like, that is not anywhere. I was like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Go looking for him. Guarantee you're going to find him. He's going to be a little bit ornery, though. He is. It's cool, though. He's going to scare you when you first find him, though. He's going to scare you guys. And like the guy on the other side of the desk, he crossed his arms and he was in a suit and he was like, young lady, I have seen a lot of things. Yeah, but you haven't seen that one. And that one, he will scare you. Like, he's cute. Like, you'll grow to like him. But he's cute. He's gonna scare you the first time you see him, though. Why would you? I have done a bunch of stuff. Yeah, yeah, I'm not saying you haven't. I'm just saying that he's so cute and his TVs are so, they're such TVs and they're so fishy. And the guy's just like, yeah, we'll call you. And I'm like, I'm just telling you, if you find him, you're going to remember this day and you're going to be like, where did she go? What was her name? But I really tried to get in there because it was a few years after the '93 attack. And not that I didn't want to be a part of like the marine and science technology stuff or the marine biology aspect, but I really wanted to get the preparation that I could for the Naval Academy portion because I kind of figured, well, how quickly could I move up in the ranks in the military to go like instantly and, you know, and like make sure and stuff. Then when that didn't work out, you know, just figured I wasn't smart enough. So, you know. Anyway. Yeah, their teeth are cool feeling. But you have to be in the water. You can't, like, taking them out of the water, that's not the same. It's not the same at all. I mean, because, like, it has a different texture because of the well, in a human being, you call it saliva, so I don't know if in the fish they call it that too. They, you know, he's so cute. Such a cutie. But there were some fish that were like, you can only pet me here. And then there were other fish that were like, you can't pet me at all because they had some stuff on them. And then there were the ones, like, they were, I don't know, they wouldn't let me pet them, but they'd get close and they'd swim around me. And, you know, it was a weird sensation. That's all I can say.
Kind of look like that guy, but like not.
And so, yeah, then at Point Pleasant Beach, a few years later, there were a few times that I saw a group again with that, I think it was the same male. That time he was in black pants and a button-down shirt and a different area of the jetties. And I tried to get to him, but then, like, scuba divers went in the ocean. And so I'm like, well, I guess I'll just move swimming because I scared him the last time. So I'm not going to scare him this time. And then, you know, then there were a few times that I just kept swimming further and further because it was like, well, no scuba. Apparently that's what they call scuba divers. So I guess I'll go swimming elsewhere because, like, the people in camp only want to stay by the shoreline because they're scared of the waves. I realize now there's probably a reason for that, but, you know, it is what it is. So I might end this particular video. Make sure to share my official videos and subscribe to my channel, Reverend MeeLing. Thank you.